Okay, so quick introductions. As I say, Michael, hopefully everyone knows me or have heard of me. I run LeisureNet alongside Dave. Been going about 20 plus years now. eFocus has been going over 10 years now, and it definitely needs a refresh, a new iteration. So we'll be coming to that later on in the session. And the idea of this session is really to get feedback from all of you guys as to how you're using the services, both on the ground and from a technical point of view. We've got Utku and Chris here from 4Global as well. They'll introduce themselves in a second. So we've got the guys that sit behind us, if you like, from a development and sitting on that Data Hub platform. So hopefully we can get some useful insights and updates from them as well. So that's my introduction. Sarah, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Forster.
You're on mute, first person of the day.
Can you hear me then, yeah? Because I've always had this problem where people can't hear me, but it's working.
Still on mute. Shall we come back to you?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll come back to you while you figure out. There should always be a prize, I think, for the first person who does that, a session like this. Chris, I know you won't be on mute. You can go next, mate.
I'm not on mute, and we could hear Sarah as well, so I don't know whether that was at your end, but everybody else seemed to be able to hear Sarah as well, I think. But anyway, yes, hi, Chris Phillips, Account Director at 4Global. Many of you know me. I've worked with a lot of you before, but many of you I hope to meet if I haven't already.
I've just realised that I don't think Sarah was on mute, was she? So guess who gets the prize for the biggest cock up of the morning? Didn't have my speakers on. So apologies for that, Sarah. Right, go on, Sarah, back to you.
Right, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yeah, everyone else could hear you. I couldn't hear you.
Right, well, everybody already had a little bit of it, yeah, but I've worked for LeisureNet Solution for about 18 years now. I manage all the eFocus side of the platform, and I'm probably all of your account managers. So, hi.
Thanks, Sarah, and apologies.
Okay, I'll let you off.
Everyone had your introduction twice apart from me. Helen, I think I've admitted you now, so I think you're in. Welcome to the session. We've only just started. We're just doing some brief introductions. Utku, do you want to go next?
Perfect, thank you. I might just...
Hi everyone, and I have my own technical problem with the camera, so I'll rejoin after this introduction, but my name is Utku. I think the camera is on now. I'm the Chief Product Officer at 4Global, and my main role linked to the eFocus is, especially today, is to look at the requirements, the updates we would like to do in eFocus services across the platform, and then be able to plan those development roadmap going forward. So great to be seeing you all after a long time. So back to Mike.
Thanks, Utku. Well, I'm just going to choose people that, and we have got quite a few people, so just keep the introductions brief. That would be great. Joyce, do you mind going? Oh, I'm getting feedback from someone. Maybe you, Helen, if you can mute.
Hi.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Joyce, do you want to go first?
Hi there, Joyce Murdoch. I'm the Membership and Retention Coordinator for Inverclyde Leisure. Been working there for 25 years. Main role is obviously memberships, funding groups, and going forward, this is my first meeting, so be kind.
Brilliant. What services do you use, Joyce?
At the moment, obviously, we use Legend services. Obviously, Big Wave for the marketing.
Oh, sorry, I meant in terms of the eFocus platform, what do you use?
Oh, sorry, can you explain that, Mark?
NPS, so we use NPS.
NPS, oh yeah, NPS, yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. It's NPS. Yeah, that's just something that we're interested to see what the mixture is of people that are using different services on the platform. Lovely, thanks, Joyce. Andrew, do you want to follow on actually, and then we can keep it in one organisation?
Yep, no problem. I'm Andrew. I'm the Head of Business Development and Corporate Support. So it's really myself that oversees our use of the insight side of things around NPS, customer service, etc. Obviously working with Joyce, overseeing membership sales and retention. So the platform is used daily by ourselves in terms of the amount of sites and managers that we have with access, to try and gain some real-time feedback. So our NPS is a real kind of key driver. It's a board KPI we report on things as well. So we hold it with a lot of importance.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andrew. Sarah.
Hiya, I'm Sarah. I am the Service Development Coordinator at Active and Creative Hartlepool at Hartlepool Borough Council. We just use the feedback focus system at the minute.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. Alex?
Hi, Mike. Alex Muse, Wiltshire Council Business Manager. So we use NPS and we've been involved in the customer focus feedback surveys throughout the last couple of years during the pandemic. My role was sort of not really with insight and intelligence, but mainly more with marketing and memberships. But I've kind of been sidetracked into that at the same time.
Brilliant. Thanks, Alex. Erin?
I'm Erin Dunn. I am Social Media Executive at Inverclyde Leisure, and we use NPS as discussed. So I think my role is now kind of understanding it and how we get it out to our customers and members from online platforms.
Brilliant. Thanks, Erin. Ingrid?
Hello everybody, good morning. I'm Ingrid Dean. I work for Leisure SK. I'm the Contract Fitness and Marketing Manager. I oversee the fitness, marketing, memberships and sales products for the organisation. I use personally Recovery Focus, but the company also uses Moving Communities, NPS and feedbacks.
That's great. Thank you very much. Lindsay? Oh, second person on mute today, Lindsay.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Lindsay from Active Luton. I'm an assistant manager for 4 sites across the estate, looking after customer service, events and aquatics. I believe we use Data Hub.
Yeah. Data, perhaps. Well, so Data Hub is the system that sits behind eFocus. I think for yourself at the moment, you use Feedback Focus, the comment system. I think, Lindsay. Is there anyone,
Feedback Focus. Yeah.
Is there anyone else from Active Luton on here today?
Yeah, we've got Sharon Coles there just below.
Okay. All right. Hi then, Sharon.
So
do you want to go next?
Both of our first meetings.
Meetings, yeah. Okay, that's fine. Sharon, do you want to go next? Oh, you're on mute as well, Sharon. I think it's interesting. It doesn't look like you're on mute, but we can't hear. That's interesting. No, still can't hear you. Perhaps we'll come back to you, Sharon. Okay, thanks. I've got 2 guys from TM Active next. Haven't got your names, guys.
Yeah, hi Mike. I'm Gary Littlejohn. I'm head of operations for TM Active. We operate 5 facilities for Tunbridge and Morling Borough Council in Kent. With me today is centre manager for the Angel Centre, one of our sites, Tim Long, and we also work with Helen, who's also on the call. We operate a variety of sites, and we currently have the feedback focus comment system, and we also use Call Focus as well.
Brilliant, thanks. Apologies, I didn't recognise you, Gary. It's been a long time since we met in person. Cedric, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Mike. Morning, everyone. My name is Cedric. I'm a customer service duty manager over at Sportstock, based at the University of East London. I've been in a role for about maybe 3 years now, and our sort of package with LeisureNet includes the surveys. It includes NPS. It also includes some of sort of the mystery visit focuses. I think all 3 ranges of them, and the feedback focus as well.
Lovely, thanks, Cedric. Catherine.
Morning. So yeah, I'm Kathy Hunter, South Downs Leisure. I'm Group Facility Manager, and I'm with Helen Lawrence today, the Operations Manager for our Worthing sites. Currently, we use eFocus, or the feedback focus.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to establish whether we actually use NPS with you, because I know that one of my colleagues, Mark Biley, was on a course yesterday for MPS. So
yeah, I think
it's again, it's with Data Hub, and I'm not sure if that's connected. I don't know.
I'll tell you what we'll do. When we finish the intros, between myself and Chris, perhaps we'll explain the relationship and the terminology. That's probably a good starting point.
Yes, thank you.
That's okay. And you do, I think, Sarah, just to confirm though, they're just starting MPS again, is that right?
Yeah, they do recovery focus as well.
Yeah,
yes,
brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. Annette.
Hi, I'm the Systems Development and Support Manager for Trafford Leisure. We do use quite a bit of it. We've got recovery focus for the cancellations. We're using the MPS, we're using data integrity with the Data Hub. And we've got a few, and I think we're doing the health and safety things, Snitch or Stitch or something we use with you as well.
Excellent. Okay, we'll cover off where Stitch fits into it as well. I've next got memberships, which is a little bit impersonal. Who's sitting behind memberships?
Hello, my name is Sam. I work alongside Ingrid at Leisure SK. So I am a site sales duty manager, for a choice of a better word. So we use eFocus, as Ingrid said, for the recovery focus aspects, the survey aspects, and yeah, just everything else really. I think that's it, isn't it, Ingrid? Yep.
Lovely. Thanks for that. Helen, nice to see you again. Hi, Helen, we can't hear you.
Sorry, just getting the speaker on. Yeah, so I'm Helen, Customer Experience Manager for Tunbridge and Moreland Leisure Trust. I work with Gary and Tim. And as Gary says, we've got feedback focus for comments and also call focus. And I'm probably more involved with the call focus, although I do have some, I do get involved in the feedback focus now and then.
Brilliant. Thanks, Helen. And finally, Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam. I've been at Trafford Leisure since about January as the fitness experience manager. We use all the stuff that Annette said that we use. So, you know, the cancellations and stuff, I can't rattle off all them, but yeah, Trafford Leisure and all that.
Lovely. Thanks, Adam. Sharon, I don't know if we go and have another attempt.
It might, is it working now?
It is, yeah, brilliant.
I'm just the reception team leader, so I just go in and take the comments off of the focus thing. I'm at Active Luton.
Brilliant, thanks. Less of the just, Sharon. I think everyone on the call knows how important head of reception is, don't worry. Okay, brilliant. Right, I think that is everyone. I haven't missed anyone. So yeah, let's start. Why don't we just start off with some sort of terminology and structure, because we've got people who have been with us for different lengths of time, perhaps have a different understanding of how Data Hub and eFocus work. So Chris, do you want to explain just briefly Data Hub and how we fit on Data Hub, and then I'll just run through the services that we've got under eFocus?
Yeah, of course, Mike, no problem. Yes, it does get a bit confusing, so apologies for all the terminology that floats around. So 4Global, Utku and myself work for 4Global, which is our company name. The Data Hub is a platform where a range of modules that you guys use, and some of you will be using Moving Communities, some will be using obviously the eFocus suite of tools. Stitch has already been mentioned, data integrity and so on. So all of those products or modules sit on the Data Hub platform, which 4Global host and deliver. So LeisureNet are our partner, and we work very closely with the team in providing the solutions that serve you through that we're going to talk about today. Hence, Utku and I kind of on the call. So we have those solutions sat in the on the Data Hub platform. So whenever you go to access these, you will do it through that platform. Stitch, as was mentioned, is delivered by another partner company of ours, Right Directions. So that you're correct in saying that's the accident tracking application, and that sits on there along with the Quest platform, RD Dash, those kind of things that are delivered through Right Directions as well. So those sit on there. There's a range of other modules that sit through. Moving Communities, as some of you may be aware, is obviously Sport England's monitoring and evaluation tool, previously for the National Leisure Recovery Fund, which is continuing. And then there's a range of other insight and intelligence products that For Global deliver directly and also deliver through some resale partners. So effectively, For Global as a company, DataHub is the platform where all of the modules sit. LeisureNet are our partner who deliver modules through the DataHub platform. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. So if I then narrow that down and say what we're here to discuss today and what you're all users of is one or more of the services, the customer insight services that sit under the eFocus label on the DataHub platform. And just to briefly run through those services, because I think we've got all people are pretty much using all of the services that are on the platform. But if you're not using them, you may think, what on earth does that mean? So just very briefly. So the key services that we got represented today are MPS closed loop. So that's our way of delivering Net Promoter Score surveys to your customers on a regular basis. And there's two slightly different versions of that. We've got the basic MPS closed loop, which is not automated and which invites are sent out by text or by email on a quarterly basis. And then we have MPS Closed Loop Plus, which is the automated version, which is where we start to get the linkage in with DataHub. So we've got a couple of clients on the call that are on that closed loop type basis. And that just means that there's no manual pulling out of email addresses. There are automatic triggers which can be related to calendar months or events such as someone visiting or not visiting. And the email invites are sent out automatically via marketing intelligence, which is the email distribution part of DataHub. So they're the two sort of variations on Net Promoter Score. Feedback Focus was our original service. So this is, if you're using the comment system, that's called Feedback Focus. So this is a very simple comment form, online comment form, which sits on your website. And I always describe this as MPS is proactive. You're going out and asking people their about their experience. Feedback Focus is your reactive part. So this is sitting there, and if no one's got any comments to make, no, you won't get any action from it. But it sits there as your comments form, so that all your comments are coming in and being dealt with in one place. Recovery Focus is a newer service. So Recovery Focus is a way of recovering membership terminations before they finally terminate. So I've got 2 or 3 people that are using that. So it's just like Feedback Focus brings all your comments into one place. Recovery Focus brings all of your requests for cancellation into one place and then allows you to go through a process to try and recover them. Similar to if you're trying to cancel your Sky or your BT contract, you'll go through a process and speak to someone who's going to try and do their best to ensure that you don't cancel. Sales and Swim Focus are the 2 sales elements. I don't think we've got anyone on using them at the moment. The main client that we've got that uses both of those is Freedom Leisure, who aren't represented today, who are our biggest, well, I guess Places are our biggest client. Freedom Focus use several services, Freedom Leisure use several services, including Sales and Swim Focus, which are sales systems or sales inquiry management systems, one of which is aimed for memberships and one of which is aimed for swimming lessons. And then finally, we have 1 or 2 people that are still using our Call and Visit Focus. Both of them are mystery shops services in essence, where we do the telephone calls or we do the shops. Sarah manages all of this, and then the results are put online so that you can hear the recordings of the telephone calls and you can get the online reports from the mystery visits. So hopefully that's a very just quick summary that brings everyone up to speed with where all the different services. So if you're here to talk about Stitch, then you're in the wrong place, unfortunately. We have done in the past joint forums with Right Directions, Carolina Right Directions, who manage that Stitch process. But now we've agreed that we're going online, that we can split up and just focus on our respective areas. Okay, so and I'm not going to do too much more talking, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background as to where we're at with eFocus. As I mentioned earlier, it's been around for quite a long time now, and we're really conscious, along with our development partners at 4 Global, that it's got quite a few glitches and bugs, as these things do when you're doing an iterative process of improvement and responding to client requests. So over the next 6 months, we are going to undertake a complete review of the eFocus platform and services, and pretty quickly, compared to a lot of software and leisure management systems out there, come up with a much improved service, which is going to look totally different, both at the front end, which customers see, but also more importantly, perhaps from the rear end, where you guys get your reporting. And I want to sort of focus that on the last sort of half an hour, really, and just get your thoughts and a bit of a blue sky thinking that is there anything, so have a think about this while we're going through the next part of the session. Is there any really imaginative, creative improvements that you think we could add to your current services, or even is there something missing that you think is related to customer insight and understanding the customer experience that you think we should be looking at, including in this sort of blue sky thinking about where eFocus should go over the next few years? And we've got a new director, as I mentioned, unfortunately couldn't be with us today, whose name is Jules. She'll be joining us in a few weeks' time, and one of her key things is going to be increasing and improving the communication with our current clients and working with them as we go through this process of replacing current eFocus with the new one. Okay, so that's a little bit of the background. I guess the next bit is over to you guys, and probably the best way of doing this is just to run through the 4 or 5 key services and just get some feedback about how you're using it. Is it gone well for you? Is there anything immediate that we need to be looking at in terms of enhancements or improvements? And as I said, if there's sort of big changes and things which are going to, then let's save that for the second part of the session. So perhaps if we kick off with MPS, because I think that's probably the largest service. I'm going to pick on you, Andrew, if you don't mind. Do you want to just give us a talk through of how you're using it, and what's worked well for you, what hasn't, and are there any immediate needs for improvements, developments, etc.?
Yeah, of course, Mike.
Thanks.
Well, we've used MPS for a number of years. So we used to use another provider before we linked up with Mike and Dave with LeisureNet. So it has been a kind of a fundamental part of how we monitor customer service, customer satisfaction, member retention, etc. So it's something we've been very used to navigating our way through. As an organisation, thankfully, it's something we've always performed very well in. As I mentioned earlier, it's a board level KPI. Our chief exec will sit on a monthly basis with myself and go through every single comment to get that kind of, like he calls it, his barometer, to get that feedback from what's actually happening on every site. So we do really hold it with a fairly significant importance. It's going to the board and chief exec on a regular basis. Since the transition over with LeisureNet, to be perfectly honest, it's been absolutely seamless. We've actually managed to increase the number of sites that we have. Working along with Mike, Dave, Sarah, and Chris has been a big help at 4 Global, as always, Chris. Just to have the integrated closed loop service as well. So we've got a lot of automation running in the background. So again, thankfully, MPS still performing very well for us at the moment. So yeah, just it's a kind of fundamental part of our business. We do task and challenge our managers, so each of our facility managers have access. So we've got nine of the leisure estate sites with the eFocus MPS, and effectively where we're challenging them within their monthly KPI performance reporting is around how quickly and how tangible we are getting back to the daily comments that may well come in. So we're able to action it, because our mantra is actually trying to use it as real-time feedback if that feedback's coming in, we should be actioning it, within certainly 24 to 48 hours, and trying to either come to a satisfactory outcome, or actually, in a number of cases, a great example of it, we've got, obviously with COVID, etc., we're behind schedule on some of our developments and equipment upgrades of our gyms. So we were planning 3 gym refurbs this year. As a result of the chief exec reading the comments, that one of our sites, which is a big site, was actually going to be third on the list of the refurbishments, but based on MPS, we've made the strategic decision to move it first. So again, in terms of those tangible outcomes, whenever we're seeing either themes or patterns, it's enabling us to make decisions that we feel will have the best impact for the business.
Brilliant. That's I promise everyone that wasn't a staged sort of first input from the audience there. I'm sure everything's not going well. I'll be delighted if everything's as positive as that, Andrew. But I suspect
I look forward to the check in the post.
Yeah. You sort of preempted my next question really, in terms of I always worry with our MPS clients that they're doing it just for the score and not actually then doing, taking actions and making changes as a result of it. But it sounds like you've had some good examples of what I call tactical changes in terms of little things, but also some bigger, more strategic decisions as a result of the information you're gleaning, which is great. Excellent. Thanks for that, Andrew. Okay, anyone else on MPS? Or anyone got any comments or any questions to Andrew? Please jump in or put your hands up.
Mike, I'll go in if that's okay.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah.
I just firstly reiterate what Andrew said. We contacted Andrew actually prior to taking up MPS, and we've only had that in the last 4 or 5 months just to get his feedback prior, and he said that it was a fantastic system and worked really well for them, and we found the same. I'd say the same thing. We've used it to change our rollout of upgrade and development projects based on some of the scores, and that's helped us to kind of re-identify perhaps where our priorities needed to be. I think probably 2 things that I wanted to raise. One, I think some of our centres have been better at using the individual feedback and generating better relationships with customers as a result of getting back in touch with them quickly, and others haven't been quite so good at that. So whilst the platform has been really easy to use and has generated really simple to use data, at the other end of it, from our end of it, it's only as good as how we respond to it and react to it. And with 20 centres in our portfolio, I don't think that's perhaps been as consistent as we'd like across the board. I think from a developmental thing, Mike, if I can offer this up, one of the things that I personally found is that some of the customer responses have been quite detailed, and that's fantastic because it shows how much they care about the centre and the services we're providing. But when it comes to categorising those comments, obviously the system only allows for a single categorisation format. You can kind of choose it to be positive, negative, comment, complaint, suggestion, and an area of the business. But often it would be really useful if the system was allowing you to tag multiple things against the comments that are made. So for example, a customer might actually say or reference 7 things within their comment, and you can tag positive against staff, positive against fitness provision, but then negative against swimming lessons, negative against cleanliness, negative against showers, as an example, because all of that feedback has come in with a response rather than just a singular complaint about a singular area of the business for you to then kind of use. That would help a lot more, I think, with trend analysis across the whole centre or the cluster of centres that you're operating.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fair. I think one of the issues, there's 2 issues with MPS. The way you ask the question, obviously the classic purest way of asking it is just those 2 questions. How likely would you be to recommend, and why? The problem with having open text on the why question is then how do you analysis and do that sort of root cause analysis to find out? And we've sort of come up with a a way of doing it which sort of works, but doesn't allow for the flexibility that someone could give you a low NPS for multiple reasons or a high NPS for multiple reasons. So yeah, I think that's a good point. We'll pick that back up when we get to the sort of future development bit as well, Alex. Right, that's brilliant. Both Andrew and Alex use NPS closed loop plus, so it's automated through Data Hub. Has anyone got any feedback or want to share their experience of doing NPS manually and sending it out sort of quarterly or 6 monthly at all? Or any other?
Yeah, I can
Sorry,
jump
Cedric,
in.
go on.
Yeah, so we utilize NPS quite a bit over at Sportsdoc. And in terms of, obviously we don't use it in an automated way. We kind of use it, plan it into our calendar whenever we want to deliver it, and then we can sort of change that depending on the needs of the service, or if there are sort of a moment of concentrate communication to members, we don't want to overload them with an additional communication around NPS. So, but one thing that we found with NPS in terms of the way we use it is there are times where we have good engagement with it, and there's times when you don't have very good engagement with it, which then in return impacts your overall score. That's something that we kind of find, and having the additional sort of comment is where we really think a lot of the key points are when members are giving you the reasons for their score or justifying the reasons for their score. Yeah. I would agree that if there is a way to, and if there is some sort of way to optimize that sort of, you know, analyzing those comments through sort of themes gathered, because generally I tend to find myself going through every comment, then creating some sort of theme, and then attaching themes to topic areas. Are they positive? Are they negative? And then sort of utilize that to then feed back to senior management about, you know, these are the trends that we're getting, these are the things that they're saying. So I would agree if there is some sort of effort made in around sort of have some sort of automated process for that. And generally, one of the main challenges that we find is the low engagement with it. Although we're using the same processes we've done before. Yeah. So we've gone back to the drawing board to think about, you know, how we share that request for the NPS to be sort of for members to participate in that. I mean, there could be a bias with it or not, but maybe potentially thinking about including incentives with that communication. You know, it could be a 1 month free membership if you sign up, if you do the NPS. And so, yeah, maybe if other people have ways that, or things that you've done differently in terms of increasing that engagement with NPS, it'll be good to hear from you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Cedric. Anyway, Alice, apologies I didn't let you in. We've got Alice Ladbroke from UEA Sports Park joined us. Apologies I didn't let you in right at the start, Alice. I didn't see you sitting in the waiting room. Do you want to just do a quick introduction?
Yeah, don't worry, I was late anyway, so it was my fault. I couldn't find the link. Definitely not you. I don't think you can see me.
No, we can't. No, it's okay.
I share my screen, but it's playing up a bit. Yeah, probably like the last question actually, because I help look after some other services at the university now as well. We obviously don't have a database for the catering facilities that we have. So we had to think about how to get responses for an NPS through that. And we basically just hired some student workers to kind of roam all of the 13 cafes and restaurants we have and ask people that are actually using the facilities. Because I think putting it out online or social media, we might have got a lot of people that weren't happy with them, but never actually come onto campus. So that was quite a good way of getting a lot of responses in a few hours. And we knew
did that on a tablet, Alice?
Yeah, we had the first time we didn't have the technology quite down, so we did it on paper and then uploaded them. And then the second time, yeah, we did them on tablets. So that's obviously a lot smoother. They go straight into the system.
One of the things
you'd be surprised how honest people are when you ask them face to face. They were still quite brutal. They weren't, you know, just saying 9 or 10. So
yeah. One of the things we talked about with you in the past was receipts, wasn't it? Back of till receipts in terms of the catering outlets. Do you think that's worth looking at some stage in the future? And obviously that could work with, well, I guess leisure centres don't give out receipts much these days, do they?
Yeah, it's quite tricky because obviously there's a lot, especially at the university, about the environment and printing and paper and things like that. So a lot of people now don't even get a receipt. No. and I think most of the time you have to ask for one anyway. So
yeah, no, that's a good point.
We have got like a few apps that we can get messages out on as well. So obviously the link is quite handy for that.
Yeah.
Like we've got reward and payment apps for students, so that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, we'll come back to apps later. That's something I want to ask everyone about, but perhaps leave that to the last section. Okay, anyone else? Any questions, comments about MPS at all before we move on? No. Okay, well, that's fine. We will come back to it when I talk about the futures and development section, as I say. So we've got some ideas about how we can improve things and address some of the issues that you raised. Okay, let's move on to feedback focus. To just remind everyone, feedback focus is the comments system which sits attached to the website. Could I have a volunteer just to kick things off, how they're finding things with feedback focus? Otherwise I'm going to pick on you again, I'm afraid. Alice, would you mind just talking about how you're finding feedback focus at the moment? You've been using it quite a few years, haven't you?
Yeah, at the sports park, I think we've been using it probably nearly 10 years, haven't we?
Yeah.
So obviously the best thing about it is going back through, like, all these things come around in circles eventually. So, you know, when somebody mentions fixing the car park or, you know, this is broken before, we've always got record now of kind of what we've done before and the kind of responses we've had before as well. Probably we've also tried to introduce it to our accommodation blocks as well. And that was a bit more difficult simply because they already had a process for reporting jobs and, you know, things that needed fixing in their rooms.
Yeah.
And some people confused it with, I'll now write my job that I need fixing in there rather than the process that already existed. So yeah, we're trying to kind of make it a bit clearer to them that it's for, you know, feedback about, you know, the community and how the building makes you feel and not kind of technical issues, but obviously it's a bit muddy. So that's probably one of the issues we've got at the moment with it. But obviously that's not the system, that's just the area that we're using it in.
Yes.
But it's been very good for the catering facilities again, because they used to have kind of an old-fashioned book where you'd write down, you know, how your meal was, like an old pub or a hotel might have.
Yeah.
So we've scrapped that completely, and it's all online now, and that's shared quite well within the team as well. So they actually know if somebody's, you know, said something nice about them as well, which we didn't have before. Yeah, but yeah, in terms of sport, it's always worked well. I think we took away the paper cards during COVID. And since that, we haven't really had many paper forms submitted. Most of them have been online.
Yeah.
So yeah, we probably, I think on a high, we probably used to get about 80 a month, but it's not that high now. Probably about 40 or 30 or 40 a month we get, I think.
And in terms of how the system is used by the managers and the supervisors, does that work well? Are you happy with how quickly people get back and how they're directed through to the appropriate person?
Yeah, and they report on that in like the monthly managers meeting we have as well. So if anybody has taken, you know, over 10 days to respond, they're kind of picked up on and in front of, you know, all the other managers and said, oh, why haven't you completed this task within the time? They all know that it'll come to their inbox and they can log in straight away. Even when people go on holiday, they're now quite good at making sure somebody's got their area covered, and we obviously go in and change the notification email so if somebody else gets it and it's not left for 2 weeks while they're on holiday somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's obviously because we've had it so long, it's very much ingrained, isn't it? So
yeah,
I think we're quite good at using it in sport here. Yeah.
Excellent, thanks, Alice. Just thinking, Sarah, you've been using Feedback Focus for a few years now, haven't you? How are you finding it? Is there anything that you think you know you could be doing better, or anything that that could work better with the current system?
Yeah, so we use it in our leisure centres at the minute with a view to roll it out further. So we've got outdoor sites, pitches, performance venues, things like that. What we struggle with is we don't really get any feedback, which we know we do, we just don't get it from our customers. So in our sites, we have the paper form still, we have tablets linked straight up to it. So there's iPads there they can fill out. There's QR codes they can scan around the facilities. There's links on our website, but we just don't get it. But then we run surveys for out of our users, and it all comes up in there, all of their issues. They're just not putting them through as feedback to us. And that's what we're trying to understand is, what are they giving us verbal feedback and our staff aren't logging it? And then they're voicing that in a survey, or what's happening, but we don't really seem to get many.
That's incredible, because you sound like you're doing, more than most of our clients would do in terms of, and it's readily visible and accessible on your website.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's on all of our site pages. It's got like a leave as a comment button. But obviously the tablets are right there in reception for them to fill out. The QR codes are everywhere. And I don't know whether there's been an issue where customers have done it and we've not gotten back to them. So they've stopped and then they just voice it through servers, but I'm not sure.
No, that is interesting. Anyone else like to comment on that? Anyone else who's using Feedback Focus Cedric? Sorry, Cedric, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I would agree with Sarah Longstaff in terms of their experience with it. I think generally also, before COVID, we used to get a little bit more interactions with the feedback. We had a few, sort of digital resources in and around the facility to capture that. And then we've had COVID, and after COVID, we've most people have tried to use the QR code aspect of things and as such. But one thing I think is quite common is people aren't just doing those steps to sort of give those feedbacks. That's one thing that we found, even with the use of QR codes as such. But I think about a year ago now, we also launched our SportsDoc app, where it's mainly focused around our service in the gym, with our fitness center, etc., etc. And the feedback on that is really works really well. So I think there's something about limiting, or there's something about potentially looking at the app space, where customers don't have to be asked to take any additional steps. It's just right there when they need it, when they want to use it. That's what we found actually. So to ask somebody to take out the phone and scan the QR code, I think is one step too many. And also it's great to have hardware within around the center for people to go to and give comments. They can just do that on their phone, and they wouldn't even do that on their phones. So having things like an app which could potentially, you can utilize a push notification just to ask them to rate you, or just to click a star on their experiences and stuff like that, is something that we found is really useful. And we're getting much better feedback from our apps as opposed to our platforms, our focus platforms. So there's something to consider there with that, in terms of, how we can potentially transition that service if there is an opportunity for that moving forward.
Yeah. You're reading my mind, Cedric. That's one of the things that we'll definitely come back to is apps. I think some. Sorry, go on, guys.
Yeah, I think I'm only coming in to agree with everybody else, really. And I think, going on from what Alice said, I think we've got a lot less feedback since we've come back from COVID, because we no longer have our cards that we hand out to people to comment on. We used to use that as a big part of our e-focus and getting our comments and responding to it. We do. It is quite clear on our website that you can feedback, but people are just not doing it. I also think, and we're not linked into LeisureNet on this, but we do MPS, and I think that is where a lot of the automated, someone comes in, they have a visit, system recognize it, sends something out, and I think that's used a lot more now at our sites than the Feedback Focus. But I think we just need to find a way, and you're probably going to come on to this, of being a bit more proactive in getting people to use the comment system.
Definitely. Thanks. Anyone else? Did I see any other hands up? Any other comments on Feedback Focus? Before we move off from that, let me just take a quick show of physical hands, if you want those. How many people, if I said to you that having a feedback form which is on the website is a prerequisite these days, you know, versus saying, well, actually, we don't need, it's a bit old school, we don't need a feedback form, even if it's not used. I guess there's a moment saying that even if it's not used much, it's important to have one there. But so, yeah, two sort of votes, really. First of all, yes, I think it's essential that there is still the ability for customers to fill in, you know, a traditional feedback form. Who, just quick show of hands, who thinks that is still a prerequisite these days? Okay, thanks. And then the second vote would be people who think, well, actually, as long as there are other ways for people to feedback and communicate via apps, social media, etc., that we don't need a physical feedback form. Quick show of hands. Okay, that's really interesting. So slight majority for that, and that's obviously a big change to 10 years ago, where, you know, it was almost the standard thing, was it? Well, we need a form, so yeah, we'll move on back to that, as I say, when we come back to the future. Okay, anything else on recovery? Sorry, not recovery, on feedback focus? I'm trying to think. Sharon, you must be using it on a day-to-day basis with your reception teams. How does it work on the sort of coalface, you know, on that with customers? How do you find it?
So we've got our reception team putting comments on, like from verbal comments from customers. Also, all of the duty managers and lifeguards also take comments and put those on as well.
Yeah,
we are still getting people filling it in at home and like submitting it through the website to us.
Yeah, so it works reasonably well, and the team understand that, you know, all comments need to come into it.
Yeah, I've told them good, bad, small and long comments, anything could go.
Good, excellent. Okay, all right, anything else on feedback focus before we move on? No? Okay, right then. And I'm conscious that some of the other services not so many people use, so we'll keep, so recovery focus. If we have to refresh my memory, folks, is anyone on the call using recovery? Ingrid, do you want to just, any feedback, any comments? How are you finding it?
Yeah, if I can get Sam to jump in as well on this, because he uses it on a very daily basis. I use it more for the overview from a management point of view and to submit reports to the management team and the board. So Sam, if you're there, if you go first from your point of view from an operations, and then I'll jump in rather than going backwards, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, I think it does work well. It's the easiest way for us to keep on top of everything. Obviously, it keeps everything quite streamlined. The only critique as such for us would be with the toolkits, but I think that's more so we don't have that much to offer for flexibility to kind of help the retention. But systemly, it's all okay. The reports are all really good. It gives you a rough idea of what you're going to be losing for that month.
Excellent, thank you.
Go on,
and from a management point of view, so for the toolkits, and as you're aware, I've had conversations with David in the past about this. My frustration operationally is I need to be able to put what the toolkits are rather than printing off a toolkit and having it on the side of the wall in the office for the team to fill in, because I need to be able to get reports off of that to see what sort of toolkits and if people are using, because I'm a great believer at the moment that we're not really using our toolkits, but really I need to quantify that and actually show the team what I mean rather than just presuming. So yes, and I know you use the data hub for so many different platforms and different types of businesses across the country, but it would be useful if we could input our own. So that's for the toolkits.
Sorry, Ingrid, just so I'm really clear, what you mean is rather than having toolkit 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you having a piece of paper which says what they are, when we set you up, you actually say, well, toolkit 1 is this, toolkit 2 is this, and you can change them online yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay.
So if it was in the settings that we could do that, we would, to be honest, we'll probably keep them the same, because as most of our leisure centres, they probably are the same anyway. Do you know what I mean? If we visit, meet the GM, a personal training session, etc. But I need to be able to quantify that and actually see the results against that. The other thing that would be really, really useful is when I'm running off reports, not the pie charts, when they're exporting the reports for, say, why people are cancelling, rather than an overall summary of how many and what the percentage is, what would be really useful is I can get down into that data to find out the people. So when I've got, for an example, 5 people have left us this month because they're unhappy with the service, I need to know who those 5 people are. What I don't have time to do is scroll through all like 200 plus people, perhaps put a cancellation report in to actually find that individual and read through all their reasons why they're leaving. But what is a bit strange, so I don't know if it's the settings, when Sarah and the team kindly put an other and I asked her to put the actual other reasons that we want, so they match our cancellation forms. I do get that information from those people, which is interesting, but I don't get it off of all the other list. So I just need to run off a report, who's cancelled that month, the reasons why, and their contact details, if that's possible.
Okay.
Also, because I'm not going to hog it anymore, that I will send you a personal email. The other thing that would be really useful is when the team tell me, yes, we're calling these people, we're calling the members to try and get them, I need to know out of 100 people who put in a cancellation form, how many of those 100 were actually contacted and the method of contact. So that would be really useful as well. And if the system does that, can somebody please educate me how, or I need to get some further training?
Yeah, I don't know.
So for my report, and because of my reporting I'm doing at a higher level,
Yeah.
and I want to know that information. So if I want to know that information, I presume the board and everybody higher than me that wants to know. So it'd be really useful if we could do those, and anything else I think of, I'll send you directly.
Yeah, no, that's fine. There is so you probably know this better than me, but there is some reporting which shows the percentage of calls that have been completed within an allocated time and recovery focus, isn't there?
Yeah, I'll have to have a look into it myself.
Yeah. We'll have a look into that and let you know, Ingrid.
Yeah, we get the percentage because in our days we have a 3-day turnaround, otherwise it goes off to our third-party company. So I get rough, but I just need to hone down a little bit more possible.
Brilliant.
Thank you, everybody.
No, thanks, Ingrid. I think you are probably the only person on the call that's using that service. So I'll move on. And then just to finish off really, and again, only a few people using this, call and visit focus. So these are our mystery calls to test membership inquiries, lost property, swimming courses, etc. And then the visit focus is the mystery shops, which tend to focus on membership inquiries. I'm trying to think. TM Active, we still do call focus, don't you? With you, how are you finding that, guys?
I'll talk about this if it's all right. Yeah, good. I mean, I think it's highlighted a problem that we knew we already had, which is quite often our phones don't get answered because they're so busy. So Larkfield, for instance, in March got an absolute no score. And, you know, off the back of that, on a positive, we are looking at changing the call routing on our new telephone system.
Yeah.
So currently, all the membership advisors, whether they're working at Larkfield or the Angel Centre or Martin Square, can pick up a call for any of the sites. So it would be better for us for all those sales calls to go to the membership number.
Yeah.
And ideally, I think it would be a good idea if the mystery caller, if they did actually have to, they didn't get an answer, to leave a message and a number. And I know that's something that's never been offered before, but it's a reality because not every single phone call is going to be answered. And it'd be good for us to know if the mystery caller was to report on how long it took for that membership advisor just to return the call.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because at the moment for Larkfield, we've just got no information for that 1 month. And, you know, I mean, obviously it's good because we know there's an issue with the phones, but there will always be the occasion when there won't be an answer. And I think it's quite acceptable for an inquirer to have to leave a message as long as they get a call back within 48 hours.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's good feedback. Okay. Anything else on? I'm not sure if there's anyone else on the call that's using visit and call focus. Is there, Sarah? Can you remind me?
Eject.
Sorry, say again.
Eject UEL.
Cedric, anything on call or visit focus for you?
Yeah, so we actually do use call and, so did you say call and email or call and
visit focus, the mystery shops?
Yeah, so call and mystery visits, we find it to be extremely useful. I think what we tend to do with those is that, especially with the mystery visit, we go through the review of the results and look at service areas that sort of we can improve through sort of a customer experience focus.
Yeah.
And we plan our team trainings, departmental trainings around the feedback, around those feedbacks. Similarly to when, just going back to NPS, when we do capture those data, we then allocate that to particular departments. So the NPS data with the mystery focus data, we kind of look at that and say, well, you know, this is parts of the service that we feel like we need to improve on, and direct our focus in improving those services. So call focus, you know, we're very keen on sort of maintaining our front of house standards with our staff. We use the findings from those services to train the staff and review. So I personally go through, review the phone calls, and then go back and then sort of do a role play type of scenario with our reception staff in terms of, you know, the information that they're given, how they're giving information, how when they're informed about our products and services. And so it's, for us, we find it like really, really useful platforms, and that's hence why we've always sort of kept it on our offer with you guys.
Brilliant, thanks, Cedric. Okay, anything else on those two? I don't think there is anyone else that uses them. I'm keen to do 30 minutes on futures and get feedback from everyone. So if everyone's happy, we'll just move on to that final section now. I'm going to put you on the spot, Chris, and make sure you're still awake. I'm going to ask you to set the scene for this session and answer this question. What do you think, from a technology point of view, are the key trends that we need to be aware of in the sector, which relate to communication with members and getting customer feedback? So before we just start this sort of open forum as to, you know, how eFocus and our customer insight service should look going forward, what's happening in the sector, do you think, that everyone should be cognizant of, that's going to, you know, future-proof, hopefully, the services that eFocus provides? Chris, you look keen and eager to go first, so okay, we'll have to wait.
Well, I'm more from a sentiment perspective than a technology perspective.
Yeah.
Obviously, I get a lot of opportunity to speak to clients, and I mean, just come back from Elevate last week as well. I don't know if anybody got down to Elevate, but I think the consensus from the sort of system providers delivering services to members is exactly that. Everything's going much more member centric. So interesting, the comments around the apps and the use of apps, and I think that the customers accessing everything digitally, whether it's their DD details, their membership type, you know, Sarah's intimating, you know, the comment scenarios, you know, they want to do that through apps and through sort of digital communication. So I think that the consensus seems to be around all of that kind of technology, that everything's moving to simplification and speed, which is kind of sad in a way, because you almost don't want somebody just ticking a single box and not getting those wholesome full answers that we're getting, which obviously have raised the comment around categorization of those. You kind of, the customer wants it to be quick and simple, but we as operators, I guess, almost want it to be as deep and thorough as possible. So it's kind of a juxtaposition around that from that perspective. But certainly, and I'll let Q sort of drive onto that a little bit more, from a technology point of view, everything seems to be going sort of very much customer centric and as simple to use as possible.
Yeah. Go on, over to you, Q. Don't blind us with science, though, please, mate. Oh, he's on mute. No? No, we can't hear you.
It will be his microphone not connected to.
He won't have plugged it in.
Probably, yeah, just plug it in.
I don't know, I always get a ridiculous amount of pleasure when Utku's technology fails for some reason.
The trouble is, it normally ends up putting me on the spot, Mike, which is I've learnt to ad lib pretty well over the years for when these things happen. But no, I'm
Give it another go. I don't think you're back yet. No. All right. We'll come back to you. Okay, come back to you. Okay, so let me just open up this session by let's pick up on the apps. Quick show of hands. Who has got a membership or customer app at the moment that they use within their organisation? Okay, so it's pretty significant, and probably those people that don't. Is it fair to say that you'd be like Cedric? I don't think Alex, you raised your hand. Is it something that you think you'll be looking at?
We're using XN and Leisure Hub, so sort of in a way we've adopted the approach that Leisure Hub acts like an app, even if it isn't one. Yeah. There have been discussions about apps, and it definitely isn't off the table for the future for sure.
Okay, Cedric, what's happening at the university? I guess it's a bit trickier. There would be you wouldn't have your own app, but would it be part of the university app?
Yeah, so similar to the last gentleman, I didn't catch his name. We also use XN, and although we have sort of the Leisure Hub services, we also have our Sports Hub platform, which is I do not think is sort of similar to. It's not sort of linked to XN or in any way or form. I think it's a standalone platform through NetPulse, I believe. I don't know if has anyone heard of NetPulse? No. Yeah. Chris is saying yes. So we use it through that sort of provider, and we've sort of created our standalone app. But the engagement through that, personally speaking, has been quite well in terms of we use it to allow members to sort of get more involved with our fitness center activities, with sort of challenges and exercising, things like that. We've kind of directed some of our online video content, especially during the COVID area, through the app, so people can sort of live stream sessions and things of that nature. And we also use it to do sort of promos of products and services as such. And I think one of the final thing is another sort of way of us to capture feedback as well. Yeah. So that's how kind of we've kind of decided to use it. But we're actually planning on creating a new app, and potentially this one would be replaced with a newer one.
Yeah. And would that be a university specific to you? Is it your own one, or is it an off-the-shelf type one, or don't you know?
Sorry, say that again.
Is it something that you're going to develop specifically for yourself, or is it an off-the-shelf?
No, I think we're developing specifically for Sportsdoc.
Brilliant. Alice, what's happening at UEA, sort of app-wise? What are you doing?
Mike, sorry, just a quick one. Can you let Uku in?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry, Alice.
That's right.
Sorry, Alice, go on.
Yeah, in the sports part, we've got the Gladstone app. So that consists of, they all look quite similar, I think. They're like tiles on the front page, and I think one of those just links out to our feedback form. So I don't really know how many we get directly through that into the feedback form, because obviously it just counts as online. But the Gladstone app's been quite good for us. I think we've had like over 5,000 downloads, which we were quite happy with. And then kind of the rest of the university is a bit disjointed with apps, to be honest with you. There's kind of some, as I mentioned, like loyalty stamp cards for coffees on apps, and that gives you kind of points and prizes. We've got a couple that you can pay for things on. I think they're kind of working on getting something that might pull lots of departments together, but they're all probably all so different. Yeah, probably the sport is the most straightforward one we've got. Obviously, you can book on that and look at timetables and see news updates we've put on there. So it's probably one of the better used ones.
Yeah. Okie doke. Okay. Uku, I don't know. Do you want to have another bash?
Can you hear me now?
You're on.
Okay, perfect. Sorry for earlier. So I was just going to say, I mean, building on the customer-centric point, Chris was referring to the 2 C's, which is connectivity and convenience, I think is the key bits on the more technology trends. So connectivity in the sense of what was referred earlier, people are looking at different ways of communicating with you, and they want to have that convenience factor, whether it is through an app. For some people, it's an app. For some people, it's the website. But you can't really just go one direction and expect everyone to follow that. It's almost like all the different systems should be talking to each other, which is something we have always discussed for eFocus for the way forward anyway. I mean, I'm sure it will be raised in different forms throughout this conversation, but I mean, eFocus cannot provide the answer to all questions, but can actually bring all the questions in, if that's the right way to describe it. So it's almost like connecting to your multiple systems. You just mentioned the Gladstone app or other apps that you are using, or other ways of connecting to your customers. All that information can come into one single source, which is the eFocus in that regard, and you can action them from a single point. So it's almost like multiple ways for customers to feed the information in, and a single way for you to take actions on those ones and distribute those responses. So I think that's really, I would say, without going too technical, the way of the connectivity and convenience point.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, I'm going to just totally open it up now. Andrew, do you mind? What's your thoughts? You know, if you wanted to look 3 years ahead in terms of MPS and possibly other customer insight services, have any views on how you would see it working and where the connectivity should be?
Oh, sorry, it wasn't letting me unmute there for some reason. Yeah, do you know, at the moment our approach is very much continuing on with what we've been doing, but that's not to say, something I found real benefit from today actually is actually hearing about some of the other platforms. So even considering looking to add them to the portfolio in the coming terms to actually complement and supplement what we're doing through eFocus and MPS. But certainly very much at the moment, it's just continuing to keep that as a kind of key priority area for us, and try to develop and trying to manage each site through their own league table performance, but then using the real-time information as well.
Yeah. So for you, it's more about it. If there were going to be improvements in the platform, it's as much about the reporting as the sort of fun.
So that's something that we've really found a real bonus since we switched over to LeisureNet, is actually the reporting and league tabling side of things has been really useful. So we try not kind of beat managers over the head with it, but it's there. While the score is a tangible output, as you said at the start, we do really focus on the actual comments and how we can resolve comments, or how we can thank and maybe showcase positive comments as well. But certainly the reporting side of things, as that continues to enhance, that's becoming more and more useful around our kind of internal league tabling and national benchmarking and things as well.
Yeah. Is anyone currently using their apps to push out MPS or other questions, or get feedback through their apps? Can anyone share with us how that's currently working, if anyone's doing that?
Interestingly, Mike, that's something that with Aaron, who's on the call from our kind of social media side and the app side of things. So Aaron also really manages the day-to-day side of the app for us. That's something I'd be really keen to start. Something we don't do just now, but actually when I'm asking myself the question just now of why don't we do it?
Yeah.
So I think that's certainly a side of things, in terms of looking forward, that we would look to push that out through the app as well, and try to increase again the amount of uptake we're getting.
Yeah. Anyone else in terms of sort of current use of apps from a customer feedback or insight point of view? Cedric?
Yeah. So since we've launched our SportsDoc app, we've had more feedback through the app in terms of services than our eFocus platform.
Yeah. And how does that feedback work, Cedric, just briefly?
So on the app, there is a sort of like a rate our services sort of chart system, not chart, like a option, like a star rating, so to speak. So customers are sort of prompted through a notification to sort of just rate our services.
Yeah.
It's either maybe after they've been to Sportstock, and we also use it to push with a push notification with a link to it to our NPS and our recent customer satisfaction survey as well. And so through that, so we can sort of utilize the app to sort of deliver those messages to ask members to engage with those surveys, so to speak. But one thing that we also found is when we compared the feedback in terms of sort of rating our services that we engaged on the Sportstock app compared to the recent feedback that we gauged through the NPS, we scored a lot lower through the NPS as opposed to the Sportstock app.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then, but then obviously we analyzed it to be simply because of the amount of comments that we're getting or engagement that we're getting for the app is it's a lot more significant.
Yeah.
Because we know based on our previous NPS before that, we got a really good score.
Yeah.
So we know that we are capable of getting that sort of level of score again. It was simply because based on the app, it was simply because there is a lot more interaction with the app. There's a lot more interaction through the app as opposed to the email process of sending a link and asking somebody to fill out the NPS survey through that way.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the impactful ways that we've seen apps come in terms of this space and how it can be utilized.
Yeah. Chris, would I be correct in saying that it sounds like there's two sorts of apps which are going to be out there? There's going to be the ones which are, in essence, the leisure management system apps, if they are true apps. And then secondly, there's going to be intermediary or third-party apps which link in with the leisure management system but provide additional functionality.
Yeah, I think that the ambition is for them to do the same thing. I think the capability potentially is very different. Some more bespoke app development companies will have developed an app that plugs in to the LMS system, and the LMS providers are obviously trying to sort of facilitate that and deliver that kind of service through their own products. It goes back to things like online bookings and back in the day when online bookings wasn't available, all the LMS providers started to write their online bookings applications. I think they went through a phase where they kind of realized they couldn't be everything to everybody, and that's where maybe sort of I guess 7 years ago, where they then decided that we can't be everything to everybody, so we'll integrate to anything. So you as operators can then choose your best of breed delivery. So whether it's on online bookings, whether it's your own website, whether it's an app or whatever, you can choose your own resource and we'll integrate to it. Which for us was kind of entertaining because it meant, our speciality is aggregating all of these different data sets together. So kind of irrelevant to us, but we're almost reverse engineering that to pull it all back into one place again as operators were choosing these wide range of best of breed products. So I think they're both ultimately trying to do the same thing. And I think as with all the different leisure management system providers, I mean, we've got Legend and Gladstone and XN on the call to say the least. There's bells and whistles with each of them, and it's how do you want that delivery to your client base, or how do you want that delivery operationally at the front desk or your reporting capabilities?
Yeah.
So I think ultimately they're all trying to do the same thing, but it's there's no one size fits all, unfortunately. Although everybody on the call is doing the same kind of stuff, we're all delivering physical activity, benefits, memberships, etc. to our customer base, but we all want to do it in slightly different ways. So I think there's room for all of the separate app companies who are developing these things specifically to be an app. And as Cedric's saying, you go to something like at the universities or the large local authorities where potentially, or the larger national operators potentially, where there's a stock app being used. What we don't want to do at the same time is, and this is something that Ku can talk to in terms of the API scenarios that are interfacing with different solutions. We don't want our customers to have to go to 5 different places.
Yeah.
One place to book their badminton court, one place to put their feedback, one place to change their membership type, and so on and so forth. So you know, it's about integration, it's about connectivity, as you mentioned, but we need to make sure that all of those things are kind of plugging in, because the customer wants a single point of view here. And the same as you guys as operators, you know, many of you are on Data Hub because you get that single point of view of all of the different systems that you're aggregating together. So I think we need to work collectively with the solutions that we sell on and provide through Data Hub to make sure they can push back into whatever chosen central source of delivery that may be. And I think that leads to the point, but you may want to comment on that in terms of kind of APIs and how they sort of work in this moving forward.
It's pretty much, I mean, you referred to it all. I think it's the two sides of APIs, information coming in and coming out. So, I mean, I think eFocus is critical in terms of like the setup of the survey, linking it to your operator accounts, so to make sure everything is connected. But also, I mean, it was mentioned earlier, the reporting features in terms of what happens, like closing the loop when the information comes back and how you action that, because the part in the middle, the medium you use to get your message or your survey or your questions to the people can be multiple ways. It's just making sure whichever way you use, it comes back to the same location and you can close that action loop, because otherwise something that's unactioned or something you can't really analyze is not really very helpful in terms of that feedback.
No, it's a good point. Okay, and has anyone else got any thoughts or comments on sort of apps and their use for customer insight? Okay. I don't think so. So let me just then move on and I just want to get some feedback on social media, really. One of the things that we're often getting asked about is how can feedback focus and potentially MPS and recovery focus feedback into or connect with the feedback that you're getting through your social media channels. At the moment, there isn't any linkage there. How are people using their social media to gather feedback and potentially analyze that? Has anyone got any thoughts on that? Anyone doing some good work on that? Doesn't look like anyone's doing anything on it at the moment. Is anyone sorry?
I'm happy to jump in. I mean, we obviously get a lot of feedback on social media, but I think at the moment we tend to just use it as a case-by-case basis. There's no formal gathering or collating of that information into another area whereby it can be used for trend analysis. I think that's almost like utopia at the moment, because it would require kind of a fair amount of resource to, certainly for us, with 20 centres and 20 Facebook pages, to then sweep and do that work, but it's definitely not a bad idea.
No, so it may be completely out of the question, but if we could somehow in our redevelopment connect to the Facebooks and the Instagrams and try and analyze, I guess there's two things that perhaps, and there is some software out there that already does that. It looks at the sentiment and tries to summarize the sentiment, and looking at keywords and word maps and what's positive and negative. But then I guess the other thing it would be managing responses to that. So if there was a way in which you could differentiate between something on Facebook, for example, that was just a comment, and something that needed action, and then try and get the action and the response back into an eFocus type environment, so you can see how quickly managers are going back to Facebook comments and how they're responding and whether they're being resolved. Would that be useful, or do people just think that what happens over in Facebook and Instagram just needs to be kept separate and managed locally?
I think it would be useful if it could be integrated, because you're going to have a larger volume of evidence for whatever strategic decision or outcome comes from it. For my non-technical brain, that sounds quite complicated in terms of how it's done. And I think at the moment, obviously, whilst the return rate on kind of NPS surveys and feedback through that isn't always brilliant, it does give you enough to certainly have credible data to use. And often I think, to be honest, Facebook is a curious beast, isn't it? Or the people that use Facebook can often be curious beasts in themselves. And often a lot of the comments that we get don't necessarily relate to the post that we've put up anyway. And I'm sure that's the case for most providers. If you put something up about swimming lessons, it just jogs someone's memory that they've got a membership, and maybe they'll make a complaint about that. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, we've got a few marketing people on the call. I'll go to quick. Alice, do you want to, any thoughts on sort of social media and how we gather the feedback from social media?
Maybe before, when we've had like particularly bad comments, we might have gone through the system just to make sure they were recorded properly.
Well, pulled them out of Facebook and put them into eFocus. Yeah.
And mainly because a lot of the managers that get notifications for the feedback system normally wouldn't log on to our Facebook page. You know, that would be the marketing team, and sometimes they're probably not the right person to respond.
Yeah.
Especially if, you know, we obviously ask, you know, if we can put their comment in, and even if we get emails, sometimes we say, oh no, we've logged your comment in the formal process to make sure you get a response as quickly as possible. So we can do that on social media as well. But yeah, I think, as Alex said, a lot of the comments are kind of niggly things that they don't actually want anyone to do anything about. They're just kind of moaning.
Yeah.
Moaning about something to make a fuss.
Yeah.
So then when you approach them to, you know, okay, well, we can do something about this if you just give us a bit more information, then they're not interested.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, every comment getting pulled through would probably be a bit too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously then it takes kind of people time to pick out the ones that maybe are more important than that.
Yeah.
Mike, yeah, I guess you have the option to pull it through, I guess.
Sorry, go on, Alex.
Just going to say, I couldn't agree more, actually, because I think you get the high level stuff out of NPS and feedback, the stuff that actually is of strategic importance, and the stuff that potentially is going to be the difference between a customer maintaining or cancelling their membership. Whereas the stuff on Facebook is often niggly. It's about, my child has been on a waiting list for 2 weeks now. Why haven't you got back to me? Your change rooms were, the pool temperature was cold today. They're just day-to-day stuff, whereas the feedback is more global and is more mindful of actually the customer experience as a member at that centre as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's brilliant. Okay, anyone else going to try and finish on time? This is your opportunity, and there will be other opportunities. This is obviously going to be a 6-12 month process, and we'll be coming back and keeping people in touch. But anything else, anyone got anything desperate they'd like us to be thinking about at the start of this process in terms of redeveloping and coming up with an improved eFocus platform? No. Okay.
If I can just reiterate what I said earlier, Mike, having the ability to tag multiple comments in the feedback would be amazing. That would really enable you to do better trend analysis.
Absolutely. No, we've got that down, Alex. Don't worry. Brilliant. Anything? Just finally, Chris, anything that you guys that I haven't asked that you think would be useful to ask this group before we sit down with you and look at sort of development plan? Anything I've missed at all?
I don't think so. No, not from our perspective. I think it's good to get the tone and the sentiment, which obviously backs up kind of the ways we're thinking as well, which is awesome. Some great specifics in there, Alex. We'll take that on, which is really good. But yeah, no, nothing else from my perspective. I don't know if Vicky's got anything from a technical requirement perspective.
No. Okay. No. Brilliant. Okay, in that case, we're finishing spot on time, which is amazing chairmanship. I think you'll agree. So thanks a lot, everyone. Really appreciate your time. Sarah's going to make some notes. And if you're happy, actually, no, I didn't get any objections about recording it for our future development manager, who we'll introduce you all to very shortly. But the other thing we'll do is, if you're okay, we'll send the link out to all our other clients that haven't been able to make it, just so that they can see the discussion. In fact, what we can do then, Sarah, is ask them to send us any feedback by email if they listen to the recording. They'll probably put it on fast forward at some points, won't they, when I'm talking? So thanks a lot for everyone for your time. Really appreciate it. Value your custom, and thanks for hanging on with us over COVID and everything. And we'll be back in touch over the next few months, hopefully with some exciting news. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, everybody.